So what you're going to see in this demo segment is AgilePoint's generative AI capabilities creating a full-fledged process. By that I mean our process will have business logic in the form of conditions, will generate user interfaces, and also bring in integrations. So let's get started by navigating over to the app builder and adding a new app. We're going to build a process-based application, and we'll just give this a name. We'll drop it into a category and give our process model a name. Okay, so here you're seeing a disclaimer that AgilePoint is going to use AI to create an auto-generated application that gives us a huge head start on creating the entire flow. Now, there are going to be a few areas where we need to finalize our production-ready app, but you'll see that towards the end of the session. So here you're seeing different options where I can use AI to create my process. We're going to go with letting AI decide for today, which is essentially using a prompt, though we will see PDF later on when it comes to building out our user interface. And lastly, here you're seeing I can always use an image as the basis for my process. Okay, so as you can see here, our prompt is, I want to create an employee interview application. And now we've sent those instructions to AgilePoint's large language model, where it will come back and give us a list of suggested process steps. So what you're seeing here on screen are the various swim lanes and associated activities within each. So we have the application submission, which starts with a candidate filling in the form, flowing through initial screening, phone interview, in-person interview, as well as our final decision. But we can always adjust, add steps, and recategorize those steps as required until everything is just right. Now, the process itself need not be linear in nature. So as an example, by selecting my drop-down list, I can branch this into a number of parallel activities. So what I'm going to do here is bring in an additional activity. So to do that, you're seeing here I have a plus icon, which says Add Activity. And as you can see here, I can bring in emails, additional process logic with a condition, sub-processes, any number of human tasks, as well as external forms, and connectors to all of the 110 systems that AgilePoint supports. So what I'm going to do is scroll down until I can find AgilePoint Data Entity. And we're going to add a Create Record action. Now, as you can see here, Create Record needs to flow into the next activity, which is Review Application. So we'll connect that and flow this into the Create Record action. And for any human activity, I always have the option to further configure this. I can do this later as well. But as an example, if we scroll down to participants, we'll see here in my case that process initiator is already filled in, which is fine for now. But again, I have the option to assign from users, groups, or roles to this particular task. Now everything else is looking pretty good so far, but if we scroll down to our decision-making section, we may want to make some changes. Okay, so let's change this from a standard task to an email notification. We're going to call this Notify Hired. And we'll add one more to notify any rejected candidates. And we'll also connect this to the stop activity. Now at this point, we do need to add a condition where we check the hiring decision that was made. So to do that, I'm going to add a condition. And configure it. So here, this will be our Notify Hired branch. We're going to connect that to the Notify Hired activity. And the else path will go to Notify Rejected. Okay, so our process is looking pretty good. And from here, AgilePoint is asking us if we'd like to use AI to create our form. So of course we would. And this time we're going to use a PDF. Now let's quickly walk through the PDF that we're going to use for our application, something that every organization has plenty. So here you're seeing our employment application PDF. There's a text box for both the first and last name, what appears to be a date and phone control, as well as an email field. Now address is represented as multiple lines. I have checkboxes for the referral source, as well as a variety of upload controls for resume, certifications, and recommendations. So what you're going to see is AgilePoint's large language model intelligently interpret these pieces and bring them into the AgilePoint context. Okay, so as you're seeing here, I can either browse through connected repositories or simply upload the file from my PC. So I'm going to drag and drop that file. And again, AgilePoint's LLM is going to understand and ingest the PDF document and suggest a number of fields for both our form as well as our data model. Okay, so as you can see here, I have a number of fields. And let's just quickly compare what's suggested here with our source material. So we have a header across the top for employment application. So as you can see, that's in place. First and last name as a text box, birth date as a date control, phone number as a phone control, and the same thing with email. Multiple lines of text for our address. Region is suggested as a type of text, which I think we can reclassify. So for region, I'm going to make that a type of pick list. So as you can see here, a drop-down list is suggested. Now here, I have the option to configure that pick list. In my case, I have an existing pick list that's an exact match. So I'm going to select yes. But as you're seeing here, if I don't want to reuse an existing pick list, I can always have fresh drop-down values generated through AI. Okay, so country has been suggested as type of drop-down list. So again, we'll go ahead and configure that. I have an exact match. Referral source, again, checkbox. Again, I have an exact match here. All right, now down below here, you're seeing upload resume, which has been correctly transposed as a type of file upload control. So that looks pretty good. So all in all, our form looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and show the line breaks here so we can see how the various fields will be logically grouped on our form and leave it at the default 2-column layout. Okay, so next it comes to naming our entity and setting up the primary key. We give this a unique name. As you can see here, the first name was suggested as our primary key, but I think I'd rather go with email address. And then lastly, I can select the steps of our process which will use the form that we've just created. So it may not make sense in every step to have this form. So I can go ahead and unselect certain fields if I don't need them. So as an example, scheduling the interview perhaps might not need that. Now next, common application artifacts, things like connections to external systems, repositories, and styling. I can add all of this later. And for now, let's go ahead and move forward with the default security. So now AgilePoint is going to drop me into the application designer where I'm going to see the end-to-end process that has been generated. Okay, so here's our complete process. As you can see here, it has our data entity insert. It has our process logic towards the bottom. Now, as you're seeing, there are a number of steps that are yet to be configured, and we can always take care of that pretty quickly. All right, so let's take a look at the form that we've just created. So we're going to move into the form builder now. Okay, so here's our form. Let's just quickly bring it up in preview. All right, so we have our date control, our phone number, our checkboxes, as well as drop-down lists fully populated. So now at this stage, I would simply configure any remaining steps in our process, including the data entity integration, but otherwise our process is ready to go. Okay, so that's going to conclude the demo segment for now. Thank you so much.